Hello and welcome to EngLearn. Does the directed writing question in paper 1 still confuse you? Well, don't worry, we have a new series on this question. For our previous video with tips, tricks, and common mistakes, check out the link in the top right corner. And for a detailed analysis of a sample answer for this question, watch until the end. As a quick reminder, here is what the student was asked to do in this text. Question 1. Read the following text, which is an article entitled Laughing Through Lockdown: Why Comedy is Important in the Times of Crisis, written by a researcher for an online academic publication called The Conversation. A. Your teacher has asked you to make a speech for other students in your school about the history and benefits of humor in times of crisis. Using the material from the article, write the first part of your speech. Use 150 to 200 words. You can find the original article this text was based on in the link below. It's a good idea to write your own answer as well. Feel free to share it with others in the comments below. As always, we're going to analyze the task to see what important information we can find there. The most important information is that about genre, audience, and purpose. Here is how the student was supposed to use this information. Text type is a speech, so the student needs to demonstrate that she understands this type of writing is meant to be spoken to a live audience, which makes connecting with the audience even more important than in other types of texts. The student needs to use typical speech techniques like anecdotes, humor, imperatives, rhetorical questions, and direct address. It's also important to note that the student is asked to write only the first part of the speech. That means that not all the important information from the article has to be included, which would otherwise be the case. The audience are the student's classmates. This has several implications. The register used needs to be conversational and informal. The audience are young teenagers, the same age as the writer. Their relationship is not hierarchical, so there is no need for the student to use overly formal language when addressing them. Any example the candidate chooses to include need to be close to teenagers' experiences and relatable. However, although the primary audience are other students, remember, the task was set by the teacher as an official school task. This means the teacher is the secondary audience, so the student has to make sure to avoid slang and overly informal register. The purpose is to inform her classmates. That means that the student needs to use facts from the original article and provide useful information. She needs to sound authoritative and knowledgeable about the subject she's talking about. Although the text is meant for the audience of teenagers, the purpose also influences the register, moving it in a slightly more formal direction. Now, let's analyze the sample response and see what we can learn from it. The candidate writes, Dear friends, if you saw me earlier laughing uncontrollably, please don't think I'm crazy. I just remembered how my brother once forgot that his camera was on during English class, and everyone watched him make dinner instead of paying attention. The teacher even asked if he could send some over to her house. She thought it looked delicious. He still gets teased about it. But don't you think it's funny that we laugh at ourselves in the middle of a global pandemic? Well, I've been reading about this recently, and as it turns out, laughing in the face of a disaster is nothing new. In fact, even gladiators did it. Picture a buff, bloodthirsty gladiator about to go to his death writing funny graffiti on Colosseum walls. I know, I couldn't believe it either. And even the Decameron, that hilarious book we read in Miss Moretti's class last year, was written during the Black Plague. Apparently, laughing in these dismal situations is actually good for you. If you don't trust me, trust Sigmund Freud, one of the most prominent psychologists of all time. A recent study supported his relief theory. In that study, scientists analyzed how laughter helped 100 people suffering from depression. Before I share my analysis of the text with you, feel free to pause the video and try to see what the student did well and what she could improve upon. This is a really useful exercise and can help you with your own writing and analysis skills. Let's start with the very beginning. The student begins the task with a very appropriate greeting that immediately shows her awareness of the conventions of a speech and establishes her connection with the audience by calling them her friends. The first sentence may seem unusual and out of place, but in it, the author immediately directly addresses the audience, and this sentence serves as an introduction into the rest of the first paragraph. There, she tells a personal story or an anecdote to get the audience interested in the topic and prepare them for the rest of the speech. This is an excellent technique, very appropriate for a speech, and it not only adds a touch of humor, but also links the author with the audience in two major ways. Number one, the student uses informal and conversational register by using phrases such as crazy, send some over, to connect with the audience and set herself on the same level as them. Number two, she uses an example that is very familiar and close to all students in these pandemic times, a funny anecdote from online classes. Virtually every student is able to relate to such a universal experience and can think of a similar example of his own. That helps create rapport between the author and the audience, making it more likely for the audience to engage with the rest of the speech. The introductory part finishes off with a rhetorical question. Don't you think it's funny? This is an excellent structural technique because it serves as a very good link between the anecdote in the introduction and the rest of the speech, and also makes the reader curious about the topic of the speech. Especially interesting to note is the use of the word funny as part of the expression, isn't it funny? The author plays on words here, linking the expression, isn't it funny, meaning isn't it curious, isn't it unusual, with the overall topic of the speech. The next paragraph starts off with another linker between the introduction and the main part. In this paragraph, the student moves on to the actual facts from the article. She uses two of the facts mentioned in the article regarding the history of humor in crisis: the graffiti written by gladiators, and the comical nature of the Decameron. However, it's important to note that the student does not lift from the original text. Instead, she takes the facts from the article, but adapts the language she uses to her audience and text type. She uses the imperative picture to engage her audience, and then makes excellent word choices by using visual imagery and alliteration in the phrase, a buff, bloodthirsty gladiator. This is followed by the exclamatory sentence in which the writer again reaffirms her relationship with the audience by indicating that the fact was unbelievable for her too. She relates the second example, the Decameron, to the student's own experience of reading the book. The candidate and her audience share the same experience of taking the same Italian classes and reading the book together, so this is an excellent choice of content point from the original article. The third paragraph takes on a more serious tone, as the student has already established firm connection with the audience and is now more devoted to fulfilling the purpose of her speech, to inform her classmates about humor in the times of crisis. Structurally, the discourse marker apparently helps the student move from the topic of history of using humor to the new subject of benefits of humor. To establish herself as a reliable source of information, she uses ethos, the appeal to authority and credibility. The first instance of ethos is the reference to Sigmund Freud, an expert on the subject. Unlike the author of the original article, the student has to make clear to her audience who he was, as they may not be aware of his importance. She also uses ethos when referencing a study, thus backing her facts with statistics. Although this particular statistic was not mentioned in the original article, the article did mention reference to humor helping people with depression, and the statistics do help create a tone of authority that is important for fulfilling the purpose. We can see that the student did very well in adapting her text to the audience and purpose set in the task. She used a variety of different techniques to make her text appeal to her audience and fulfill its purpose. The conventions of the genre were also fulfilled with use of appropriate opening, direct address, and other language techniques throughout the speech. In terms of language, we can note that the student writes without any grammatical or vocabulary mistakes. There are many instances of high-level vocabulary, such as buff, bloodthirsty, dismal, prominent, and grammar. Particularly interesting is the use of sentence structures and punctuation. The punctuation is very varied, including dashes, exclamation marks, and quotation marks. Sentence structure varies from short, impactful sentences to longer, more complex sentences with parenthetical clauses. In terms of language, this is an excellent model for your own writing. Throughout the text, the student shows awareness of major text elements and supports them by accurate and very carefully selected words, techniques, and sentence structures. Overall, the text is very successful in achieving its purpose. The candidate demonstrates that she understood the content of the original text and is able to use it to write her own text accurately and effectively, while keeping within the word limit. However, there is always room for improvement. One potential drawback of the text is the length of the introductory anecdote. Although it serves a useful purpose of connecting with the audience, the anecdote does not include any direct references to the original text, and it takes up a whopping 62 out of 200 words. At least some of those words could have been used to squeeze in another reference to the original text. Regardless, this text is an excellent example of what a good model response looks like, and I hope this analysis has helped you understand what is expected of you in this part of the exam. If you're enjoying my videos, please share, like, comment, and subscribe, share them with your friends, and come back for more. Happy exam season, everyone!